Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is going to be another classic movie review for you guys. Now, this movie I'm going to be reviewing, I really didn't know anything about this movie. I went in knowing just the plot and, the people that were in it. That's really all I knew. I didn't even know if this was going to be that good. I knew it had a 91% Rotten Tomatoes. And the movie I'm going to be reviewing is a movie that you might not have heard of, but I really wish a lot of people would have, and that is the 1999 comedy Election. Now, Election is a movie that I really didn't know too much about at all. As I said, I knew what the plot was, and I knew, who was in it. But I have to say that Election is not only the most surprising classic movie I've seen, and honestly is one of the best I've seen. I think Election is fantastic. I honestly think it is a masterpiece. I really do think it is. Even though this is a silly movie, there's a reason why I think this is honestly comedy gold. There's a reason why. And it honestly is probably one of the best high school movies I have ever seen. I think it's fantastic and is a movie that, if you are in high school, you need to see at some point in your life. So let's just get into the plot of Election, which honestly is an awesome plot because we focus on this teacher, Jim McAllister, and basically he is this high school teacher in the suburbs of Omaha, Nebraska, and there's this girl, Tracy Flick, who she is completely an overachiever, and, she's like in every club pretty much. Everybody hates her, and the only person I can really compare her to is like Rachel Berry from Glee, but I'll get to that. And basically, what ends up happening is that there's this election going on that she really wants to run for, and basically there's no one else for her to run against, and basically, Jim, though, needs to find some person to run against her, so he enlists Paul Metzler, who is this guy who's like a football player, and he's really intelligent, and Jim thinks he can do something with his life if he does this, and basically becomes a huge race between the two, and basically all kinds of crazy shit happens, and that's basically the plot. And basically, Jim's life is turned upside down after having Paul run against Tracy, and that's basically the plot of Election. Now, it doesn't sound as interesting as it is, but the thing that works so well about this movie is the way that this movie is done, because it's not your regularly structured movie. First of all, this movie could have been a disaster. It really could have. I mean, when I heard about the plot, I'm like, that sounds so generic. It sounds really boring. But it's not, because of how good the acting is here. The acting really is what makes this movie great, I have to say. And let's get into the acting, because they're all great. Matthew Broderick as Jim. He was hilarious in this movie. I loved his character. He did a fantastic job. But the thing I have to say about these characters, that the best part of this movie is what they actually end up doing with the characters, because what they do is that there are so many voiceovers throughout the movie, and it really makes us care more about the characters and sees their point of views. And I thought he did a really good job as Jim. He really wants to be this teacher that wants to help out his students, but at the same time, he's going through some other personal things on his own, because he's having an affair with this girl who's not his wife. And I thought that was interesting that we saw that. A lot of people don't like that plot, but I thought it was really funny what they did. And I like that they didn't try to take the movie too seriously either. I thought it was fun. I thought he did a really great job in the role, and he was definitely really good. However, Reese Witherspoon as Tracy Flick. This is the best performance I've ever seen Reese Witherspoon give. And I know people are saying, what about Wild? What about all these other movies? This is the best performance I've seen her give for a couple of reasons. One, this is unlike any other role I've ever seen Reese Witherspoon do. Two, this is one of her first roles ever. And the only other character I can compare Tracy Flick to is Rachel Berry. In fact, I believe Glee borrowed things from this movie because of Tracy Flick's character. Because, Rachel and Tracy are very much the same. Tracy's involved in, like, every club. She's very manipulative. She wants to do whatever she can to win the election, while Rachel, doesn't let anyone stand in her spotlight, and Tracy's the very same way. And some of the funniest scenes in the movie is the chemistry between Matthew Broderick and Reese Witherspoon. They work so great together because he hates her. He wants nothing to do with her. He wants to, like, yell at her and tell her that I hate you and I want nothing to do with you, but he has to help her because she's one of his students, and he's kind of scared of her. And I thought their relationship overall was really funny. I definitely enjoyed that relationship as teacher and student. She definitely is someone that's gonna get what she wants, and if she doesn't get what she wants, she's really upset about it, and I thought her character was really funny. Chris Klein as Paul. I thought he was really good in the movie as well. I definitely enjoyed his character. One of the things I liked about his character is that he wasn't a jerk. I like that about his character, but he's kind of like the naive football player that we all see in schools. He's very naive. He's not exactly the smartest person ever, and that goes with his election speech, which I thought was really great. But I really want to talk about Jessica Campbell as Tammy, who was hilarious. She is Paul's sister. And she has this great backstory where she's this lesbian girl, and she really liked this girl, Lisa, but she didn't like her back because she wasn't a lesbian, she was just experimenting, and basically, Paul ends up getting together with Lisa, which makes Tammy run for the election, and I thought that was really funny when we saw that. I definitely really enjoyed that. Everyone else in this movie is great. I think everyone else did a fantastic job, and everyone did well with the roles that they had. The directing here is fantastic. I think the directing here is great in this movie by Alexander Payne, and he did a great job directing this movie. This is not your typical, like, fun high school movie. This is not your, like, this is not like one of those fun high school movies that are like really cheesy. No, this is dark humor. There's some pretty dark humor in this movie, and there's some big, like, realistic situations the characters go through. That's something I love about this movie, is that it's very realistic. What happens in this movie happens in real high schools, but they all play it for laughs, which I love seeing, and that's something I think that was great about the movie, was the directing. However, the best thing about this movie is the screenplay. This movie would not be as good as it is without the screenplay, which, let me tell you guys, was award-winning. Let me tell you why. 90% of this movie is voiceovers. There is not a lot of actual, like, dialogue in this movie. There's dialogue, but most of it is voiceovers, and it works so well because you see the characters' motivations, you see what they want, and most times they'll have a scene, they'll then pause it, and you'll find out what's going on before here, and it's really well done the way they did that. In fact, the first, like, 20 minutes of this movie is just introducing the character of Tracy Flick, and, basically Jim tells us about the character of Tracy Flick, and then we see Tracy Flick's point of view of Jim, and then we see then when we get, Paul and Tammy into the story, we see their point of views, we see their voiceovers, and throughout the whole movie, that's something I loved. I thought it was just going to be these two characters throughout the whole movie that were going to be the voiceovers, but no, every character, or the four main characters, get their own voiceovers, and I love that they did that. It made us care more about them, it made us it made us be more delivered with their characters. Their characters a lot more development. We didn't have to worry about, oh, this character's not getting enough, because each character has their own voiceovers. Each character has their own time to shine, and I love that they did that. They did a great job with that. And the screenplay is so witty and funny. I mean, this movie's hilarious. I was not expecting to laugh as much as I did, but it honestly is hilarious. If you're a teacher, you can relate to this movie, because all teachers have that student that they really don't like, but annoys them so much that they have to pretend to like them. That is exactly what Jim goes through in this movie. He gets to some pretty crazy shit in this movie, but I thought it was really funny what happened to his character, and I thought that was really good overall. And also just seeing Tracy's point of view. Tracy thinks that she's like the best thing ever, and all this great stuff's happening to her. She really doesn't have much direction in her life either, and honestly, some of it's kind of sad, but they play it all for laughs, and I like that. You also really care about Tammy's character, because Tammy's completely different from Paul and Tracy. She doesn't want this election to happen. In fact, the only reason she's running this election is to get back at Paul and tell him that there's no reason to be in this election because it's pointless. And the movie had a lot to say about that, which I definitely really enjoyed. And the other thing about the movie is that it didn't get too political either. If you were thinking that this is going to be a movie where you just see people give speeches, you have no idea what you're talking about. There's one scene with speeches, and it's one of the funniest scenes in the movie. And they all play it for laughs, and it's great, and I love that. If you're ever involved in a school election, you know how hard it is to pick candidates. You know how much you don't really want to do that, and I think the movie showed that very well. Definitely, I thought that was really fun. The score to this movie is great. They kind of play the same score each time you hear the music that would pause each time the monologues would start. Each time we would see the voiceovers, I was like, oh shit, we're getting to another voiceover. Like, that's something I love about the movie, is that you enjoy the voiceovers. You wait for them. They're the best thing about this movie. I'm not saying that the dialogue isn't great, but you wait for the voiceovers. That's what you want. When you hear that music, it's like, yes, another voiceover. Like, I was excited for the voiceovers because that is what was making me love this movie. And I did not know going into it that those voiceovers were there, and I love that they did that with the voiceovers. It was awesome. I thought it really added to the movie and just made me care more about the characters overall. It was hilarious that they did that. I love it they did that. The cinematography was really good to this movie as well. This movie's a really interesting way of doing cinematography. Like, when we catch up with things, like, we'll close up on something. It was really funny the way they did that. I definitely enjoyed that. I thought that was really funny. The editing also to this movie flew by so quickly. I could not believe this movie was over, and when it was like, wow, it's actually over. I was so into it, and I was loving every single minute of it, and it honestly is a great movie. And I guess the only other thing I'll talk about with this movie is the ending. I love the way the movie ended. The movie does end in kind of a sad way, but I thought it was really great the way the movie ended. It kind of just showed a message of, just because you don't give everything in one life doesn't mean your life can't turn out well, and I thought that was really good. I definitely, really I definitely really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really good scene. Definitely, I enjoyed that a lot. And overall, I thought that Election was a great movie. I was surprised by how much I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic story. And it has a fantastic ending, which basically I'm just going to tell you guys, if the ending of this movie is just catching up with the four characters 1 year later. It's some of the funniest stuff in the movie. And as I said, the voiceovers are hilarious. And it really makes this movie great. So overall, guys, that's in my review of Election. I know this was a shorter review, but that's really all I can say about this movie. There's not too much you can say about it other than it's great. And trust me when I tell you guys, it's unlike any other comedy you've seen before. You think you've seen comedies. I went into this just thinking this is going to be just a generic high school movie that I'm probably going to laugh at a few times, but it's not going to be that funny. No, this is one of the best high school movies you can see because it shows the point of view of these four students and these three students and their teacher and their ambitions and their motivations and how they feel about each other. And that's something that I just love seeing about the movie and something that I thought was fantastic about the movie. And I think that that's really what made this movie as good as it was. In fact, this movie had a lot of Academy Award nominations, which I'm still surprised about. It's just because of how unique this movie is. And honestly, after watching this movie, I want to see more movies shot like this. I want to see more movies in this voiceover style where there's not a lot of dialogue, but there was a lot of voiceover. And I love that the movie did that. It made us care more about the story, and I thought that was fantastic. And I love Election because of that. That's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys saw this movie if you have seen it. And guys, I was going to watch another classic movie, but the season premiere of Penny Dreadful actually came online today, and I'm planning on watching and reviewing it, so I'll probably do that, and that'll be my next video. But my next video will actually be for a trailer reaction, because there's a trailer that came out, and I am going to react to that. So I will see you guys for that, and yeah, so I will see you guys in my next video. Okay, and also, if you guys have seen this movie, let me know what you think of this movie. I feel like this movie should get a lot more love than it does. It's not as loved as it should be, and it really should. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for a trailer reaction. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.